Welcome. I'll give everyone a second to join. You can turn your cameras on or off, whatever you're most comfortable with. I know many of you are in school right now. Welcome to our Montessori Town Hall. For those of you who are joining our Montessori Town Hall for the first time, welcome. We host these every single Thursday from 1:30 to 2:30 p.m. Eastern throughout the school year as a space for Montessori leaders just to come together and discuss a variety of different leadership topics. We also mix in quite a bit of Montessori marketing because that's our expertise here at Nido Marketing and Montessori Thrive. But mostly it's just a space for school leaders to come together, ask important questions about leadership, and have a discussion in a safe space. We know that sometimes when you're in a leadership position, you can't always talk to your staff about certain things. So we thought it would be important to create an online space where people could connect with one another. These are always free to join, so feel free to share, to spread the word with a fellow Montessori leader. Anyone's welcome. And the recording will be posted on our YouTube channel on Nido Marketing. So if you miss any of our town halls or you'd like to see them on your own time, you can watch them back on our YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about selling families on the unique benefits of Montessori school, particularly focusing on your value proposition as a Montessori school. So if you have any questions throughout the meeting, I will make sure to pause. This is very much kind of an open forum format where you'll be able to speak, ask questions. You can also utilize the chat. We're also live in our Montessori Thrive Facebook group. So if you're joining us on there, you can also ask questions in the comments. All right. Oh, I think there we go. Just a little overview of what we're going to be covering today. We're going to start off with talking about the Montessori admissions funnel and the Montessori family life cycle. This just kind of gives us a overview of kind of how our target audience works throughout the admissions process and also throughout their time at your school. Then we're going to focus on the Montessori avatar, which is your target audience. And we're going to ask ourselves the important questions of getting to know them, exactly what that means in your community as well. The Montessori parent is different in every town, different even in every school community. I'll be sharing some information on how you can educate and nurture families specifically through content marketing. This is a huge way of getting your value proposition across. We'll also be discussing how you can really have a strategic school website that communicates the benefits of Montessori. We're going to talk about how you can establish yourself as a thought leader, which should be your ultimate goal when it comes to positioning yourself. We'll be sharing some resources and then we'll have some time for Q&A and discussion, but feel free to drop your questions in the chat throughout today's presentation. All right, so selling Montessori is really all about educating. If you want to successfully grow your admissions and reach the right prospective families, it does require a lot of research, targeting, educating, and nurturing. This is what we're going to focus on today. And remember, we've said this at many meetings. I know Camille used to say it a lot. Montessori might be right for every child, but it isn't necessarily right for every parent. So it takes a lot to really understand, what family is really going to be the right fit for your school. So throughout the admissions process and throughout the marketing process, you have to really be purposeful with your content and everything that you're using to target the right families and educate and nurture them. All right, so let's start with the Montessori admissions funnel. This is kind of a little marketing model that we use a lot when it comes to the entire admissions process from beginning to end. So before we go deeper, I think it's important to understand how the admissions funnel works and what we can do every step of the way as school leaders and as Montessori marketers. The Montessori admissions process is going to be different than traditional schooling model. This is because we as Montessorians have to constantly be educating and nurturing families along the way and highlighting those unique benefits of Montessori. Because remember, in the Montessori space, we don't get that luxury of parents just knowing exactly what to expect like they would in the traditional schooling model or in a public school. That's something families are already familiar with. Even with daycares, that's something that parents might already be familiar with, but Montessori works differently. So we're going to have to be constantly educating. So here's just a look of the Montessori funnel model here. As you can see, it ends with enrollment, and every step gets a little bit smaller. That's because obviously you'll lose parents along the way, and ultimately you'll end up with the right families at the point of enrollment. So we're going to take a look step by step of this funnel, and let's talk about what you can do and what you can expect at every stage. So first is that awareness. That's the widest. This is where parents are aware of their needs, not necessarily your solution. This is a parent who knows they need a childcare program. They need to be able to drop their child off. They have work. They want their child to receive some type of support. They may not necessarily be aware that Montessori is the right fit yet, but you may be the answer to their problem. It's also the most nebulous stage. This is where, you don't necessarily have the right target audience 100%. It's a very broad audience here. Thought leadership is really important here. Parents are looking for trust. They're looking for a program that has credibility, that provides exactly what they need, and offers a solution to their problem. This is where it's important to speak to their main pain points. Marketing from this perspective might look a little something like, we have a childcare program that serves children from ages, 6 months to 8 years or something like that. That is pretty much the starting point. Again, this is not necessarily where you're going to start finding your target audience, but there are ways to speak to them. Thought leadership is going to take over here in the sense of you're going to really be marketing towards just creating good content. We'll dive deeper into content marketing later in the presentation. But whenever you as a Montessori school are providing resources for families, informing them not only about, your programs that do serve as a solution to their problem, but they go a little bit deeper and you can expand on that. Again, this is a really early stage. It's really broad. We'll take a step down into interest. And this is where parents are really starting to examine all their options. They're being a little proactive in their search for the right school. They're comparing different models. They might be looking at Montessori, traditional daycare, Waldorf. They're just really diving deep and doing a little bit of research on each one. They're not 100% sold on which one they're going to go with yet at this stage. This is where, again, content marketing is super important. We'll talk in greater depth about that, but focus on educating parents specifically on Montessori and the benefits of Montessori. This is where you can explain, the benefits of age grouping. You can talk about, the importance of the environment, your trained staff, even get into things like the planes of development. You can start introducing these concepts. But again, a parent at this stage is going to be comparing and contrasting with several different models. This is also where parents are going to be asking you feeler questions, or they're going to be asking themselves those feeler questions. They're going to be like, do I see this working for my child? Is this something that I would be interested in? It's very surface level questions, kind of cocktail party questions. They're not really making those deeper questions yet. They're just kind of, is this going to serve my need? After interest, we jump into consideration again. You're losing some parents along that way. Maybe some parents would have chosen traditional. Some parents would have gone with the Waldorf model. At this point, you're getting the parents who, they're seriously considering Montessori as the right path. Here we have the soft decision model. So again, they're saying, oh, well, Montessori is checking all the things that I'm looking for. So I'm leaning more towards that. They're researching their options within that chosen model. So maybe they're comparing your Montessori school to other Montessori schools in that area. You're going to get a couple of ghost engagements. Again, these are parents who might be checking your website a couple of times. They might be reading through your program information. This is not the point maybe where they're reaching out to fill out an inquiry form or schedule a tour, but they're definitely clicking around your website, maybe looking at your blogs, maybe checking your social media accounts, looking at Google reviews. They're just feeling it out. Lead magnets come into play here because, again, it's a ghost engagement. So these are low commitment engagements that parents can make. A lead magnet is something that you can offer on your school website. We'll show some examples later when we go through our Montessori sample website tour, but they're just little pop-ups you can have throughout your website that offer immediate value to parents. Things like, Montessori versus conventional, a quiz that parents can, or a checklist of some sort that parents can receive in their inbox in exchange for their email address. So again, at this consideration stage, you're not yet engaging with the parent directly. They are just kind of interacting with your website, doing their research and learning from your school. Again, the common theme throughout the entire funnel is the importance of good content marketing. Content market story space, we'll dive deeper into that later. But at this stage, they're not ready to make that commitment. Here, you might lose a couple parents along the way, but the ones that kind of make it through this stage are going to show intent. This is where they're making the first contact with your school. They might make a phone call. They might fill out an inquiry form on your website. They're really, really diving deeper into the social proof. They're looking at reviews. They're looking for, good word of mouth about your school. They're asking around other parents' experience with Montessori. They might even reach out to families in your community if they're, not willing to. Also, this is where it's really important to have clear calls to action. In marketing, this is really important. You want to make sure that you make it clear what you want parents to do in order to take the next step in the admissions process. Most of the time it's to schedule a tour, because obviously when a parent comes in for a tour and they see Montessori firsthand, this is where they're really sold on Montessori, because they see the impact, they see the classrooms, they understand so much more when they see firsthand. So it's important to have these clear call to actions throughout your website so parents can make that initial contact with you. And this, of course, is a very interested parent at this point because they are interested in coming in for a tour. This is something that they're seriously considering. They're further along that funnel. Next will be the evaluation stage. So this is when they come in for tours and observations. They're really considering your school. They're asking questions. They're meeting representatives at your school. It's important in this stage to nurture your prospects. Again, continue educating through great content marketing. This might look like email nurtures, checking in with parents, whether that's a personal phone call or a personal email as well. And to really break down the admissions process, be clear and offer some hand-holding so you can explain, if this is what you want for your child, this is how our admissions process works, and introducing that to them. This is where you're really kind of about to seal the deal if it's the right fit in the end. So this is very much a two-sided evaluation. You're evaluating them just as much as they're evaluating you. So it goes both ways, but this is a very, very interested parent. And then finally, you have enrollment. This is the ultimate goal of the admissions funnel, is to get a parent enrolled. You have to have a very easy and clear enrollment process. This is your time to over deliver, because this is, where a parent is really going to build their first impression of what it's like to be a part of your community. So they're making a huge commitment by choosing to enroll in your community. It's also important at this stage to manage expectations, be very clear. This is where a lot of disappointment can come later down the line if you're not clear. So if your school, for instance, has really strict expectations or rules when it comes to staying that third year, whether that be the kindergarten year or the third year of lower elementary, be very clear about these things. We expect parents who are willing to commit for those 3 years. So all of these things, it's important to manage a parent's expectation, and then you can ease them into the admissions process. All right, any questions about the admissions funnel? When it comes to marketing, when it comes to what you can do? All right, well, if anything comes to mind, feel free to drop a question in the chat whenever. Next is the Montessori family life cycle. This goes, hand in hand with the admissions funnel, but it does not necessarily exactly align. And the reason I wanted to touch upon this is because later in the presentation, we're going to be talking about content marketing. And I think this gives a really good view into all of the psychological processes that a parent is going through when they choose to enroll in a Montessori school, from exploring their options to ultimately living your mission and becoming a lifelong Montessori and an advocate for Montessori. So first is that exploration phase. This goes a little bit deeper than the awareness stage that we saw on the top of the funnel. This is really their introduction to Montessori. And this is all about educating parents. If you as a Montessori school aren't really offering parents, whether they're prospective families or current families, resources to learn about parenting through a Montessori lens, learn about Montessori, you're really missing out on so many opportunities. Again, we don't have the luxury that these traditional schooling models have of already having these expectations set. We have to do the setting, we have to do the learning. And nowadays we also have to do a lot of, smashing of misconceptions about Montessori. So you have to offer great content throughout your marketing, whether that's in your ads, whether that's on your social media, whether that's on your website. We'll dive deeper into that in a moment. But it's really important to offer these learning opportunities to families that highlight why they should choose Montessori. Because we know why, but maybe another parent wouldn't. Commitment. A parent is going to have varying degrees of commitment throughout the admissions process and throughout the time that they're enrolled in your school. This is a prerequisite for all of the other stages, so engagement, retention, advocacy, and living your mission. And commitment doesn't always necessarily mean retention, but it's important to understand that to get a parent really committed to Montessori, to your philosophy, and to your mission, you have to sell them on why they should be so passionate about Montessori. Why is it different than other models? Why does it work? We know there's science that proves that it works. We know that, it really can work for every child, but we need to communicate that constantly to parents, whether that's in the form of email marketing, marketing on your website, social posts, blogs, parenting courses. There needs to be a lot of that. So you're going to get commitment when you make the commitment to consistently educate families on these benefits. All right, next is engagement. This is where, I think a lot of people really start falling in love with Montessori and they start seeing the impact firsthand. This is where, a child's experience in the Montessori space becomes real. Parents can participate, whether that's, just coming in for observation, being a part of the community, and interacting with your school. This is also an opportunity for you to measure engagement, whether that's on your website, who's responding to your emails, who's reading your blogs, who's showing up to your parenting classes, who is interested in your school and being proactive about it. And this is also going to be the strongest indicator of, what families are in it for the long run, what families are going to be living your mission, which is your ultimate goal, hopefully. We skipped over retention, I think. Oh, well, I'll discuss retention. During the retention stage, this is where you want to have constant communication with families about why they should stay in Montessori, because obviously it's a commitment to stay in Montessori, especially during those third years, like the kindergarten year, where parents could go to the public school system, but they're missing out on a big opportunity for their child. If you want families to stay in your Montessori school, you really have to, have these advocates in your community, offer a lot of education throughout the year, a lot of parenting support. And you're going to always have parents who are going to be very difficult to reach. And that's okay. That's nothing to do on your part. It's just a reality that every community has parents who are invested in different levels. So there's those parents who are always going to forget that your parenting courses, they won't show up. Oftentimes, those are the parents who probably need it the most. I know, because we've talked about this several times in our town halls before. but you can't reach everybody, but you can make active efforts to host parenting events, to host community events, and to consistently be educating families on the unique benefits of Montessori and showing this as well during your observations. So when parents come in for observations, make sure you give them resources and a list of things to look out for and talk to them one-on-one about how their child is, adapting to the Montessori environment. I think especially coming out of COVID, retention looks a little bit different because we have a lot of parents who are anxious, a lot of children who are transitioning from being at home so much to being in a social space. So that's difficult. So always be reassuring families and making sure that there's open communication between parent and school. So that's important for retention. And then when it comes to advocacy, this is going to be the next stage in a parent's journey into Montessori. This is when, they've explored, they've committed, they've engaged with your community, and they've decided to stick with you. They saw the vision for that third year. They want to stay with you for longer. And now they want to become advocates of your Montessori school. I see a question or comment here. I feel that most schools are past COVID and now dealing with a lot of safety and security questions. Unfortunately, yes, this is true. Especially if you've seen the news, there's always external anxieties. They're ever changing. It's important if you want to retain students and if you really want people to just feel safe in your community to, again, over deliver in terms of communication and always have processes in place. So that was a great point. But when it comes to advocacy, as a school and as a school leader, what you can be doing to really capitalize on this stage is to scope out those families who you notice are just really passionate or becoming really passionate about your community and Montessori. Usually we know who these people are. They're the ones who are involved, or the ones who are there in the parenting classes. They're the ones who are happy in our communities. You can be reaching out to these people for testimonials, for reviews, to become advocates of your school, to create referral systems. All of this is how you're going to get that social proof that parents do look for throughout the admissions process. Social proof is really important in school marketing, especially when we're looking at models that aren't the traditional one, because parents want to know how other families experienced your school and Montessori. Because again, they don't have expectations yet about what Montessori may look like. And then finally, in the family life cycle in Montessori, we have living the mission. This is the ultimate goal. This is when we have passionate Montessori families and children. They're Montessorians for life at this point, even if they just choose to do Montessori for those first primary years or lower elementary, they're going to have a special place in their heart forever about Montessori. And usually these families still come back and give back to the community beyond their time there. And these are also people who are always going to be advocating for Montessori in general to other families and to the world. So it's always important to keep relationships with these families, whether you have maybe a Facebook group of alumni or families. Maybe you ask families that, as they finish their time with you, if you can stay in touch with them. They're willing to come back in the future for fundraisers or school events. It's important to keep a list of these people who are really special in your community and have gone above and beyond throughout the entire cycle to stay in touch with your community. So ultimately, you can see that the admissions funnel and the life cycle are a little bit different, but a lot of things, there's a lot of moments you can capitalize on each step on each one. And the ultimate goal here is to constantly be educating. You're never going to get people to enroll, and you're never going to get people to live your mission if you're not consistently nurturing and educating families every step of the way throughout their Montessori journey. All right, any questions about the life cycle? Any comments before we move on to the Montessori avatar?
Yeah, I had a quick question. Mm-hmm. When you were talking about engagement and like some of the different ways we can measure engagement, can you kind of repeat some of those? Because I thought that was pretty helpful. Like how many people are reading emails, showing up to your events, like other examples like that?
Yeah, so I recommend always, keeping a list of who comes to all of your parenting events, and kind of send email. We talked about this at one of our meetings about parenting education. Kind of email the parents that maybe don't come and just say, oh, we noticed you weren't at the parenting event, but we're going to send you some resources to follow up. That kind of hopefully will not make them feel guilty, but make them understand that you saw that they weren't there and you still provided these resources. Hopefully they'll come back. Obviously, when it comes to emails, you can't necessarily always see who opened your emails unless you're using some type of CRM. You can see kind of a percentage if you're tracking these things through email marketing or email nurtures. Also tracking your leads. So if you're using a CRM or anything like that throughout your website, every time somebody requests a lead magnet or schedules a tour, you should be able to see who's coming through on these, how much engagement you're getting. If you're not getting a lot of engagement, maybe you need to tweak your language. You need to offer more information, more resources to parents. These are different ways you can track engagement. And then also parents who, this one's newer. I don't think a lot of parents are necessarily active on social media when it comes to interacting with your school. Some are more than others, but it's always great to see, who's looking at your posts, who's commenting. Things like this are also a great way to kind of measure who's maybe more invested than others. And also just people who you can tell are receiving your messaging when it comes to Montessori. Usually these are the parents who aren't causing a lot of issues at your school. It's usually the parents who maybe you can tell that they're having adjustment issues when it comes to really trusting your staff or your teachers or letting go of certain things and really living in Montessori. Maybe these are the parents that require you checking in, you asking follow-ups, or maybe they'll reach out to you as well. But I think it looks different in every community. And I think usually we have a feeler of who's happy and who's not in our community. But it's always good to, see who's coming through on your website, who's engaging. I don't know. Camille, did I miss anything on that?
Oh, no, I think that was good. The other point I wanted to bring up was I guess this goes a little bit more towards retention, but having those like committees and opportunities for parents to get involved, because as Montessori schools, some schools, it's a little hard for, parents might want to come in and volunteer in the classroom, and that they might not always be a great idea to have the parents in the classroom, right? But if you have these other opportunities for parents to get involved with the school, maybe it's a coffee or a book club, or just even, it doesn't necessarily have to be super focused on Montessori, but just a way to provide community, then the parents are going to really feel like they're really a part of the school too. And that helps a lot with retention. And but in the same token, when you're doing admissions, if you have some of these programs, make sure that the parents who are coming in to learn about the school for their child, make sure they're aware too, like, oh, we also have these programs for parents. So they understand that is one of the unique benefits, I think, of Montessori, is that it's really a community of parents and teachers and students. So I think that's one point that really helps with that life cycle that Camilla was showing earlier.
Definitely. Any other questions, comments? All right, let's dive into the Montessori avatar. And this is really all about knowing your community members and your prospective family as well. So, this is just a marketing term for your target customer, but it really is different for every single community. Every school's avatar is unique. This is because every community is unique. Every school is unique. And this means you really have to constantly be researching and making sure you're familiar with what parents are feeling right now. Obviously, we're in the school every day, most of us. We're always sensing, what are parents worried about right now? What are their, priorities? So it's important to really always be attuned to what the values are within your community. And these always change. They change generationally. They change year to year. As we've seen, we've been thrown around quite a bit with COVID. Now there's other safety issues and things are always changing. So it's important to understand, here in the example, we said someone in Albuquerque is going to have a different avatar than a school in San Francisco. And they're going to have a completely different avatar to a school in New Delhi. So it's important to really understand every single thing about, your target customer if you want to market to them properly. These are just some questions, and these slides will be available. Feel free to screenshot this because there's a lot of questions. Just some avatar building questions that you can ask yourself. You can kind of fill this out and update it as needed. But all of these things are important, not only when first of all, if you're running ads and if you're targeting people, it's important to really understand these things. But just also when you're communicating with families, it's kind of important to have these things in the back of your mind. Obviously, every school is going to have kind of different building questions, but this is just a great place to start. And yeah, just really getting to know who's currently in your community, what kind of person is usually reaching out, and what kind of person is your ideal family. So, you can kind of ask yourself these questions. There's going to be many questions that have many different answers. They're not just going to have one answer, but it kind of gives you a good idea of what your ideal, what your prospective family and child looks like, with how they think, how they feel. Because the reality is Montessori parents are usually a unique species. It's not somebody who just wants to go into daycare. It's not somebody who just wants a traditional schooling model. They're looking for something more. So it's important to really put your finger on that and what that means in your community. So again, it's important to understand the admissions funnel, the family cycle, and the avatar if you really want to market and nurture families every step of the way. If you don't really have a good basis or a grasp on these things, it's going to become really difficult to decide what type of content to create. What content would a family avatar, the ideal family avatar in someone like New York City, really be looking for? Maybe you're writing blogs about, how to make the most of your environment if you're in a small apartment. And that fits your avatar better than somebody who maybe lives in the South and they have bigger living spaces. So the more you can appeal to the specific problems of your ideal, family, and you can speak to their pain points, you can provide resources, you can educate them, the more you're really going to be attracting that family and encouraging them to be a part of your community, because you're saying, oh, we're serving your needs, but we're going so much further and we are the answer that you're looking for. So it really kind of makes you stand out above the rest. All right, any questions about family avatar? I usually, you have a pretty good idea of your community members and what kind of parent is within your community. There's obviously different types within your community, but you can kind of feel usually who's going to be the right fit or not. All right, we'll move on to content marketing, because this is really kind of the match made in heaven for Montessori schools. We are not in Montessori space salesy people. This is not, a buy one, get one free market. This is that's not the kind of sales pitch that work in our space. And that's not the kind of people that we are in Montessori either. Montessori is really a journey of, building community, educating a child, creating citizens of the world. So content marketing is perfect for Montessori schools because we are really nurturing these families and providing them with resources every step of the way that they're with us. So whether that's maybe just for the toddler years or all the way into adolescence, we are providing community, support, tools, education, and so much more. And we're going above and beyond than some traditional models oftentimes, because we need to do that extra work so that parents can kind of really grasp the Montessori philosophy and trust what we're doing, trust the process, and unlearn what they may already know about the traditional model. We're asking them to trust our community, because I would say most Montessori parents maybe were not Montessori children yet. Maybe we'll get to that point in the future. But we're really, doing a lot of work educating and providing for these prospective and current families. I'd love to hear in the chats, when you think of what are the benefits of Montessori that we want to communicate, what are the things that come to mind? Like, what's the first kind of word or phrase that pops into your head when it comes to when it comes to the unique benefits of Montessori? And these are things that a parent wouldn't be able to find anywhere else other than Montessori. I'll add them to the presentation. We'll create a list here. And again, this will be available later. So feel free to drop in the chat. I see something here. Raising kind, confident children. Creating community outside of your neighborhood. Or life. Lots of good ones here. So many that I'm going to have to. Okay. So this is a great starting point, and you can continue to grow this list. If anything else pops to your mind, I'll make sure to add it to the presentation later. But really, these are going to be kind of the points that you're going to be trying to communicate through your content. That, if you're looking for prompts, if you're looking for inspiration for creating the best content, this is really going to be your starting point. Is these are the points I'm trying to get across. These are the points that are ultimately going to make a family want to become a Montessori family. How can I communicate this? So clearly we already know that Montessori raises kind, confident children. This is because we teach things like grace and courtesy. We allow children to feel respected in their classroom. And this is something that is not necessarily taught in the traditional school model. How can we communicate this? We can give parenting classes. We can write a blog. We can post about it on our social media. We can highlight this throughout our tours. We can consistently communicate this throughout observations. So these are the points we're constantly trying to communicate to families. This is our value proposition. This is why we called this presentation that. This is what we're offering that parents can't just get in any other community. And this is why parents want to enroll with us. And if a parent really, resonates with these points, they are the right family for you. So always be communicating this constantly and offering resources so the parents can learn how you achieve these things. And that's how, you move parents along the admissions funnel and throughout the family life cycle and create advocates and people who are passionate about Montessori.
Yeah, I just wanted to add too is be sure when you're communicating to communicate benefits, not necessarily features. So I noticed, like, for example, multi-age groups, that's a feature, but a parent might say, well, what's the benefit of that? Right. So just saying, oh, we have multi-age group, a parent's like, well, why is that good? So you really want to say, well, it's because the younger children can learn from the older children and they learn more, compassion, and the older children can ultimately rise up to be leaders. And there's a lot of benefits to that. And we know that, but, we have a 3-hour uninterrupted work cycle. Well, that's a feature. It's not necessarily a benefit unless you understand what are the benefits of that feature. So just be careful in your wording, and especially when you're communicating and writing to parents, because when it's a conversation, things will generally flow and you'll be able to highlight the benefits. But if you're writing, just be careful of that. It's a very, very common thing to do, because we in our minds think of these things that way, but you really have to be able to communicate the benefits. Why would I want to enroll my child in this school? So just ask, that's the question parents are asking. And so that's the answers that you need to come up with. Okay.
No, that's a great point. Yeah. So, we know what we have as Montessorians is really special. These are our unique selling points. Let's talk about how you can communicate this through great content marketing. We'll break it down, a couple things you can be doing, and you don't have to do everything. Number one is blogs. We recommend every single Montessori school, if they can, to have a blog on your website. Content is so important for so many reasons. Just want to give a few kind of notes when it comes to creating blog posts for your school. Always use pictures and images. You can use, you can find all sorts, you can use your own pictures that you've taken. You can go on Pexels or free stock images, find some pictures as well. Make sure you have the rights to these pictures, but blogs should be visual just as much as they are reading. Also, if you break up your text, it's so much more approachable. Keep this in mind. People are visual people. So it just helps to have these beautiful pictures. And it also helps people visualize the classroom so much more. Again, a lot of people might not have seen a Montessori classroom, or may not have seen what the materials look like, or a child in this deep concentration in our classroom. These are images that can be really moving. Write in an approachable way that parents who are new to Montessori can understand. I think a lot of us speak the Montessori language every day. We become so used to it that we think that everybody knows what practical life means. We think that everybody knows what we're saying when we say grace and courtesy. We have to really break these things down for parents who don't know these concepts or are not familiar with them yet. So make sure to use language that's really approachable, almost like you're explaining Montessori to a child. Maybe not so simple, but pretty much. You are explaining Montessori to fresh eyes, people who may not be familiar. You just have to assume that way. Of course, you're going to get parents who, the more they're involved in your community, the more they understand, and they're probably going to start speaking the Montessori language soon enough. But if you really want to handhold and guide parents through the process, you want to make sure they can actually approach your content. It's your opportunity to smash misconceptions about Montessori. In the age of the internet, there's all sorts of, mom bloggers. Some of them are great. Some of them are not necessarily always spreading truth about Montessori. Some people may think, oh, well, isn't Montessori where you can let your kid do anything? No, this is your opportunity and your platform to inform parents about the realities of Montessori. Also, post regularly. You can decide the schedule that works for you, but nothing looks more unprofessional than having 3 blog posts from 2 years ago. It just looks like you gave up and you probably don't have all the resources you need to run a school. That's just what a parent from the outside looking in may think. So if you're not ready to commit to a regular blog, maybe hold off on it, get some content ready, and then you can release it weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever works for your schedule. A bonus note from a marketing perspective is that just updating your website with regular content will help with SEO and keeping your website up to date. You should always be refreshing your website. I think it also helps with overall engagement. If parents know they can come to your school for resources, they're more willing to check on your website more regularly. Also, always direct parents to your blog, so whether it's on social media or just through an email newsletter. Make sure parents can always come back to the space to read and learn about Montessori. Podcast, this is a fun one. You don't have to do this one, but if you can, it's actually a really cheap one to do, and you can offer this on your website, or you can just include it in your newsletters. It's just fun. All you need is a mic. You can create podcasts on things like SoundCloud. You can record them. There's a bunch of free software you can use. We have an entire town hall on this on our YouTube channel, but you can create a parenting podcast. This is a great way for those busy parents who may not have the time to read a blog to listen to it. You can also just read out your blogs. That can be a podcast that you could include in your newsletter. You can just call it audio blog. And again, this is minimal cost and minimal effort when it comes to creating. So if it's something that you can do, you can go ahead and do it. Social post, I think that all schools should have a presence online. I think it just builds credibility for your schools. It's important to have a Facebook, Twitter, and an Instagram nowadays. Do you have to post every day? No, but it's important to post regularly. Again, this builds credibility. This helps with your social proof. It's also a great way to consistently be educating your families and filling them in on daily life. A lot of parents are becoming more attuned with social media. I think it's also very generational. I think we'll see this more and more as younger generations become parents. Social media is just a reality that we have to deal with. Don't be afraid to recycle content again. And this goes for blogs as well. The parents that you have now may not necessarily be the same group of parents you have in 5 years. So a blog that you published, a while back, you can always recycle, update the pictures, make a few tweaks if necessary. You don't always have to be creating brand new content. Also, there's only so much content you can create about Montessori before you run out of things to talk about. So feel free to recycle that content, you own it, it's yours. So, utilize it as much as you can. Parenting classes, I think this is probably the most impactful thing because it's something that traditional schools don't offer. At least most of them, I haven't heard of many that do. So this is a huge selling point that you can maybe mention to parents from the beginning, or you can even on your website. You can have a page on parenting support, what we offer families in our community, how we go above and beyond to make sure that, your child is thriving not only in the classroom, but at home. You can plan parenting classes. You can do them, on Zoom, in person. You can record videos that you can use time and time again. Also, if you're a Nido Marketing content member, I think you have access to a bunch of parenting videos that you could post on your website already. So if you're part of our content subscribers, you have access to this. You can also invite the wider community, create a Facebook event and say, local moms, local dads are welcome, join in via Zoom. You can invite them for in-person meetings as well. Make this a social event, because if parents are connecting with parents within your community and then they're hearing good things about your school and they're saying, wow, like this school is going above and beyond and providing so much for their parents, and they're saying, it's really been a difference for their child, maybe this is the right fit for me. So parenting classes can be impactful for so many things, and it's probably going to be the number one thing when it comes to building advocates for your community. So just, if you can. Also, if you're a Thrive member, we offer virtual parenting series every February and every October. So we already have a virtual space for parents to join in. We invite Montessori experts to teach them about Montessori. Also, if you don't want to ask teachers or staff to do this for you, if there's already too much on their plate, there's a list of great parenting coaches out there in the Montessori space that you can hire for a fee to teach your parents. And it might be worth it to do if that means more retention, if that means recruiting more families. So it could be an investment in terms of marketing. If anybody needs recommendations, please reach out to me and let me know. I'll drop my email at the end of this presentation. We've worked with so many great parenting coaches, so that's also an option. Another thing is email content, email nurtures. This is a free way for you to market for your school, so we always recommend doing it. And emails are a great way for you to share this valuable content with families and nurture them. We call it email nurtures because that's exactly what it is. You're nurturing a family into learning more about Montessori and hopefully wanting to enroll. You can even use email nurtures for retention purposes. You should always have forms that parents can fill out on your website. So things like lead generators, inquiry forms. So you can be receiving this this contact information. And this means parents want to hear from you. They want to learn from you. They want to see what you have to offer. And if they don't, they'll always unsubscribe. But you can always send things like email nurtures, email newsletters, reminders about school events to families who have shown interest at some point in your school. Website content is another one. Your website should have content that really helps families understand more about the benefits of Montessori, keyword benefits, and about just how your programs really work. Hold their hand as they explore through your school website. If they're not able to learn just enough to pique their interest about Montessori from your website, you're missing big opportunities. Really talk about your mission, talk about philosophy, give some insight into your programs and reminders to schedule a tour. Contact us, ask us questions. So it should really be a journey for parents to be exploring throughout your website. I'll just give a quick tour of our sample website. So let's see here. So this is Nido site. Oh, we're opening right into a lead generator. So this is nidosite.com. You can go here if you need a reference for building out your school website. This is one of our templates. Camille built this out. And it's a beautiful sample school website. So this would be the homepage. You immediately are greeted with schedule a tour button. So you can easily schedule a tour. Mission, again, here, right off the bat, you see the benefits broken up in a beautiful way so parents can approach the content. It's not a big wall of text, information about the programs you offer, social proof. Again, another reminder, schedule a tour. An easy overlook of how to apply, our blog, so parents can come, they can learn about things like the role of the Montessori teacher. Here we have plans of development, benefits of multi-age grouping, so parents can learn why they should be, going for Montessori. We have another lead generator here that will help a parent kind of make that decision. So everything here is very intentional to guide a parent who, again, may know nothing about Montessori, but may be exploring their options. And it's designed to move parents along the admissions funnel into enrollment. That's the ultimate goal. We also have our contact form here. You can check out our blog. We have some sample blogs here. So these are things that, if you're looking for some inspiration, feel free. It's nidosite.com. It's a great resource. It's a great sample website. And of course, if you want to work with us to build a school website, we're happy to help. But I highly recommend using it as a resource if you need one. All right, any questions I see here in the comments? Something I missed. Abigail, we get a lot of questions about students to teacher ratios, and parents are sometimes shocked that it's larger in Montessori. So we explain why there's a benefit to actually having less adults in the classroom. See, that would make a great blog. See, all of these things are opportunities for great content that you can utilize in your marketing. And when a parent really understands these things and they see the benefits, they're more likely to lean into Montessori. So that was a great point. Thank you, Abigail. All right. Yeah. All right. The ultimate goal is, hold on, have I skipped a slide? I think it's, hold on, my apologies. So our ultimate goal is thought leadership. This is what can be achieved through great content marketing. So parents who've had the opportunity to do their research, look through your content, they're going to be that much more excited to engage with you. When you're learning about Montessori directly from your school, automatically you become an authority, a thought leader, and a trusted source. Parents are using your resources. They're learning about philosophy through you. That's going to give you such an edge when they're comparing you to other schools. The key factor in becoming a thought leader is that they're learning about Montessori directly from you. Again, this is what's going to build trust and make those families more comfortable with your school. Other ways to reach the right families. This is just marketing in the Montessori space. You can run Google ads and social ads, building community. This is huge, just like Camille mentioned earlier with mentioning that you build parent communities. You can also build community online, locally in your city or town. Plan and organize events that welcome new community members. Focus on your presence online. Never underestimate your online presence. People are always looking, they're Googling, they're looking for, all kinds of resources when it comes to picking the right school and parenting, and get testimonials and social proof. This is so important in the Montessori space. Did we miss anything here? Is there anything else that has helped when it comes to reaching the right families. There's always going to be new and innovative ways to reach families as well. So just some resources that you can get from us. So here at Nido Marketing and Montessori Thrive, we're always here to help when it comes to Montessori marketing, where we only work with Montessori schools. This is our specialty. So we have a bunch of special content and resources to help specifically with delivering your unique proposition here. We've got content services. So we actually create Montessori blogs, emails. We provide a Montessori stock photo library as well. We have our website and CRM service. As you saw on one of our sample websites, we can build a completely custom website. Email nurture content. If you're a Montessori Thrive member and you want to start sending out email nurtures, we have written out templates for you. Parenting classes and videos, as I mentioned earlier, articles. We've got lead generators that you can include on your website, all kinds of parent communication forms and enrollment forms. You can also always request resources, as Montessori Thrive is a resource exchange. So if you don't find a resource you need for school leadership, school marketing, or operations, you can always request one. We're happy to help. I'll go ahead and open it up. We have a couple minutes for just questions or comments. So if we missed anything, I'm happy to hear your thoughts. Montessori is a really niche area, which is kind of an advantage because we can really focus on creating quality content. And also what we're selling is so great, and we've seen it work time and time again. So, share your success stories. Make sure parents you're getting these testimonials, you're getting social proof, because what you're doing is paying off for so many families in your community. You're welcome, Caitlin. I'll drop my email. I did mention I was going to drop my email here if anybody. So if you want to reach out to me for a question or resource, please do. My inbox is always open. All right. Well, next week, we're going to talk about hosting retention events at your school. So the conversation will shift a little bit from, just selling your unique benefits to kind of selling it long-term, and what your school can be doing in terms of retention, hosting events in person, online, virtually, all sorts. So if that's something you're interested in, we look forward to seeing you next Thursday. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for sharing your ideas, questions, thoughts. We always love hearing from you. All right. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thanks, everyone.